Okay. So I'm going to turn the messages off for now, and we can do a little bit at
Okay.
the end if we have time. I
Okay.
think it turned off. Yep.
Yeah, the chat is disabled.
Okay, cool. That way we can focus for a little
Okay.
bit. We have a lot to talk about tonight. I'm really excited about it. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we are going to look
Yay.
at
No,
some.
you're not going to draw on the screen, CJ.
Yep, no drawing on the
You
screen.
have started screen share.
Okay. So what I did is I put together some
Participants
videos
can now see your application.
of different things that we do that are going to allow for our horses to have consistency in their lives, which will make them more confident because they know what to expect. It will also help with safety for them, safety in our lesson program. And then we're going to look at how those basic skills then move into balance exercises for them, which will make them sounder and happier. So we're
Okay.
going to start with something that Ingrid did this morning. And Ingrid, this was really helpful video for me to be able to take. And I know CJ handled Eliza yesterday. And so we're going to look at that haltering first because all of you know you've seen how important haltering is and getting the horse to put their head in their own halter. So there's a few reasons. What are some of the reasons why we care so much about haltering? CJ.
So they don't get tight in their neck.
Yeah, very good. Because if we shove a bridle or a halter up into their neck, it gets their head joints out of whack, which goes all the way jaw, head, neck, shoulder, locks the whole body up. So, yes, absolutely. That's a great answer. Why,
Yes, Rita?
Rita?
Um, because it can be dangerous if a horse is slinging their head around or if you shove it up and they start rearing or anything like that.
Yeah, we've seen issues where horses don't know this skill. And when they have it shoved up and they get locked up, they get really nervous and then they couldn't rear, they can have worse behaviors. Absolutely. That's a great answer. And
I don't
then
want to get hit in the face with this thing.
you don't want to get hit in the face. Absolutely. And
I built one.
what about this horse? CJ and Ingrid, you guys have handled her a lot. She's one of our biggest horses. She's 16,
And
she's big.
she's adorable.
She's She is one of the best horses ever. But why do we care that especially these big ones put their heads in their halter?
Because they can hurt our little feeties. They
Could be.
can hurt the littles.
Absolutely. But can you, if she had her head up in the air, can you reach her head?
No,
Oh,
I can't reach your head.
no.
I need a
So
step stool.
she has to be trained to bring her head down, right? To work with you. So let's look at these videos together. And then
Okay.
I'm going to mute myself and mute you guys while we watch them, okay? Sorry, I just realized you guys probably can't hear what's being said in the video, can you? Okay, then I will unmute. There we go. We'll start over. Yes. Oh, gentle. She looks worried, doesn't she? So take a big deep breath and pet her and let her know it's okay because whatever you accidentally did got her worried. Now step back for a second. I think she needs a minute. There we go. There we go. Now try again. Gentle. Nice and gentle. Go ahead. Good. I like how you're thinking about that. She's processing. You're beautiful, Ellie. She needs to let a big deep breath out. All right, so I'm going to let Ingrid tell us. Is Ingrid still with you, Rita? What happened today that made it so hard for Eliza to put her head in her halter? I'll tell you that last week, this happened with both Eliza and with Pearl. I took their blanket off and didn't realize I had static shock on my hands, and then went to pet them, and it was a pretty nasty shock. And so then they were worried about my hands and didn't want to put their heads in their halters, and I had to help them work through that. Ingrid, what happened today that made her not want to put her head in her halter? Can you? Yeah, there you
The the cross was in her halter. I got it out, then it actually flew up and hit her face.
Yeah, so if you look at the video, Ingrid has been working on the need to get everything organized. I had a video of that I didn't include in this. But her lead rope wasn't organized, and the lead rope was on the floor, and it got caught in the cross tie, which needed to all get organized. So then Eliza was worried that she was going to get hurt with that cross tie again. So we're going to watch the next video and see what happens. You got to get the halter underneath her nose gently. Good. Gentle, gentle. Instead of shoving it over her ears, gently pull her ears through, okay? Because she was such a good girl and put her head in her halter for you, but then it hurts if you shove it over her ears. Okay? Get it to her nose so she can put it in. Good. Now you can lift it up. That's fine. But when you get it up, you've got to be gentle to her face. Okay? Because now she doesn't really want to bring her head all the way down in because you hurt her head when you were putting it on her. Right. So what we did is I ended up putting the halter on myself and just helped her get past that nervousness with it going all the way onto her head. And then I showed Ingrid how to move the cross tie out of the way. She had already learned how to get her lead rope tidied up and make sure everything was tidy. So we didn't have any accidents like that again. But what do you guys notice about Eliza's body language and especially her eye in those videos? Yep, you guys can unmute and tell me. Go ahead, CJ.
She's scared. She's scared of it.
What makes it clear to you that she is scared? Stephanie?
She looks a little tense in her neck.
Okay, good. What else? Rita?
She had a little bit of like a nervous eye and a little bit of a hard eye.
Yes.
And she didn't really, like what Stephanie said, she had a tense neck and didn't want to put her head down anywhere close to Ingrid or the halter.
Yeah. So we know this horse's baseline is that she normally will put her head right in her halter for anybody as small as Ingrid. So something's different there with her behavior, but also her eye is really nervous. It's very triangular. She keeps looking away. There were moments where Ingrid would see that she needed a break and she would step back and let her have that break. Sometimes you can't push a horse through something. You need to step back, take the pressure off, and allow them to breathe a little bit for that. Yeah, CJ.
She also did not have a smile.
That's true. Well, that is very true. She's not sitting there smiling, is she? Now,
No.
at the next video. So I know you guys worked with Fiona.
I already said you.
So this is Fiona learning how to put her head in her halter for the first time. And you'll see, and I've talked to both Rita and Mark about the consistency and the handling with Fiona so that she continues to improve with this skill instead of having the struggle she did today with the skill. That horses need consistency. They need to know what to expect because that makes them feel more confident. So this is her first time ever sticking her head in her halter by herself. Remember, she was hard to catch. She didn't really want to work with people.
Goober. What a good girl. Probably one of the quickest I've ever seen a horse learn this.
So here we saw both into the halter and out of the halter. Both are important. We've seen that with our bridling too, that we have to put our head in nicely, take our head out nicely without whipping it off. And there's a few reasons for that. One, somebody said earlier, if they whip that head out of that halter, they might smack us in the head, right? They also are going to create patterns of tension in especially their poll area, their jaw, if they whip their heads out. CJ, did you want to add something to that?
They they can also, if they want to like run away, they can also accidentally like hit you with their big foot
Right.
because she does have a big foot.
Absolutely. So think about if you went to take her out, maybe she was in the stall and you're going to turn her out in the field and you go to take the halter off and she whips her head of that halter, she's going to spin, take off. That's when they're more likely to buck. That is exactly right. You're going to get a higher
Yeah.
chance of being hurt if the horse just pulls it.
That's why you turn the horse around and have your face towards the escape.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. But even then, if you have the horse facing towards you and you're right at the gate, if they whip their head out and spin, it might happen so fast you could get hurt. So teaching them how to calmly and gently take their head out of their halter not only is good for their bodies, but it's good for their brain. So they don't think, oh, thank goodness, I'm done with this. I can get away from this. I'm fearful of it. I want to run. And so that makes a big difference for our safety and then also for the horse's mental state. Yeah, Rita.
And if she continuously whips her head out in the exact
video is also
same
not
pattern, she's gonna get like really like tense in one side of her neck and really like not tense in the other.
Right. And we see with her that the right side is harder for her, that getting her right ear in and out is a little bit more troubling. And so we've had to work on that. I have a feeling that once she lets us in, when she's more comfortable with us, she's only been here a couple weeks, she's ex workhorse, she's still learning that people are good, that we'll find some significant tension there behind that right ear. But for now, we're just trying to get the basics so that she's safe to handle with her 2000 frame.
This globe has Shikatik Island on it.
That's awesome. Okay, so now we're going to look at kind of a next step and why some of these basic handling skills are so important. And so this is when Romeo had his catheter in. And Romeo really struggled with the catheter. He struggled with it being installed. He struggled with us using it. And remember, the catheter was there to treat him for Lyme disease, which he had a very high chronic state of Lyme. And when he was out on lease and they would put the catheter in or they would put the meds in, he was really what people would call rude about it. He would toss his head, paw, or kick. It was something that was a little bit dangerous. So we spent a lot of time getting him calm about it. And I would say it took maybe 6 days to retrain that from him so he didn't expect pain or pressure or fear when we did his medications. So by the end, it was so easy to get the meds in him. It was not a big deal, but we had to get him used to it. So a lot of this is for their own good too, because if you cannot get them the medical treatment that they need because of behavior issues, they're going to be in pain. And for him, it was a combination, I think, of pain and fear. So I'll show you what we worked on.
Yeah.
This is cute, Romeo. Rita, can you show what you were just doing? Because you were doing a really good job. Mhm. Very good. So, the boy, Romeo got diagnosed with Lyme disease in June 2024, I think. He had
I feel good.
some changes in behavior and movement and needed, good job, Ree, treatment. So he went through, oh, good boy, Lyme treatment, and we noticed a small change, but not a substantial one. So we retested, and he still has chronic Lyme. So we are treating again. He hated the catheter the first time through, and he was being leased at the time. So he was not in my care. So I didn't get to play around with training for the catheter then, but we're working on it now. So he tosses his head, paws, wiggles when you go to insert the needle into the catheter. And the mornings are particularly challenging because you have to do a flush, then a very thick antibiotic, which takes a little bit to get through there. So don't take your finger off, Rita, if you start messing around with it. There, release there. Release, release, release. You did great. And then you have to flush it again. So there are 3 needles that have to go in. And we are trying to help him realize that this is not so scary. So what we did this morning is it's time to do all the meds. And Rita is grooming him and snuggling him and making this area kind of a safe space so that he doesn't think every time he comes in the cross ties here that he gets poked. So they're just having some bonding time. And then on occasion, while Rita is grooming, she's just kind of scratching him near the catheter, touching the catheter, getting him used to it. So she's doing a really, really good job. And we'll do the meds in a minute and we'll film that as well. But he's starting to really relax. One of his biggest things that I've noticed when it comes to Lyme is he's a little bit defensive of his body and his body space. And he shows that through his ear carriage. So we're helping him through that as well. Oh, sweet thing. He is a really, really, really sweet boy. So this behavior is abnormal for him. So we're working through it. So one of the big things I want to point out is that it's very important to us and very important to me as the trainer, owner, instructor that I understand my horses, that I know their baseline, that I know how they communicate, that I know how they generally feel. Because if I know that, then I know when something's wrong, right? And so a lot of these basic training pieces also tell me how our horses respond in those situations and how they feel, act, those sorts of things. So let's look at the next video, and this is baby Callie. This is Callie when she was 1, I think. And so this is when we were really noticing the club foot. Now, what was happening is when she was eating off the ground, she would always eat in a very specific pattern. Her right front, which is the darker hoof, would be forward. Her left front, which is the light hoof with the white sock, would always be back. And that was exacerbating the club foot or causing the club foot. We're not 100% sure what was going on. So we had to retrain her pattern of standing. Again, a medical issue that if we didn't address it, she would end up lame because the foot would get higher through the heel and the toe would be pointing down and it would get very uncomfortable for her. So she had to have a lot of handling at a young age and a lot of boundaries and a lot of correct responses to pressure in order for us to fix that issue. So let's see what this looks like. Good, Rita. Just gentle. Because she might square it up, and that's okay too. Uh. There we go. Oh, so even she's not putting any weight on that leg. She needs to have weight on the leg. There we go. So a lot of times if the leg's too far forward, that can cause issues too, because they're putting weight on the back leg, but we'll just watch it.
I don't want to be covered in calories. I know that's kind of happy. Don't want it.
That's fine. It's fine. No, that's not fine. Good. So every morning for breakfast, we had to go through this pattern every day because she would want to bring that left front, that white hoof back, and she'd want to bring that right front, the gray hoof forward. And you can see where I stopped it. She is ever so slightly forward with the white hoof. But if you look at her right hind, and that's the gray back leg, gray back hoof, that is now underneath her and supporting her weight where it wasn't before. That leg works very closely with the left front. So the diagonal pairs are important not only in the trot, but in every aspect of the horse's life. So she's now learning how to support herself through that right hind so she can carry the left front more correctly. And so with this pony, we had to do a lot of exercises in addition to just retraining the way she stands in order to allow her to open up the right side of her body and support herself more on that right hind so that the left front can do and hold itself and carry itself the way that it needs to, which is really, really crucial for her development. Now her hoof looks pretty close to normal. X-rays show that it looks good. There's nothing wrong internally. The farrier has done a great job with it. And so we have had to set boundaries with this pony and very clear expectations with this pony and huge amounts of consistency. So she knows what's being asked of her so that we can help fix a medical problem for her. Yeah, CJ.
You guys were wondering my nail polish, and this is the one.
Cool.
That's the one
That's not important to horses right now, CJ.
Right.
Thanks, Rita.
On horses right now.
Thank you, Rita.
You're welcome.
Our nail care is covered. All right, ready now. We're going to look at Romeo. So we've looked at very basic skills that are really important for the daily living tasks of our horses and of handling them, but also impact their physical and mental well-being. And they have to have these foundational skills to be good citizens who are going to be well taken care of in life. We get a lot of horses that don't have these very basic skills, right? And then they really struggle in their job until they understand them. So think about Fiona today and how she was pushy, right? You can't have a 2,000-pound horse be pushy. So we weren't mean about it, but we had a box that she needed to stay within. And when she was in the box, we had gentle touch, and she was comfortable. When she was uncomfortable and started to move, we stepped back, get her back in her box, let her settle, and touch again. So these are very, very important things for us to provide a horse the ability to be safe, which is going to give them the chance of having a wonderful home no matter where they go. Horses with behavior problems are much more likely to end up in bad situations. So now we're going to take it a step further. all of these foundational skills they have to have in order for us to help them with their balance and building up their muscles. It is so important that we start that from the ground and that they can find their balance before we sit on their back. They have muscle groups that really need to be strong in order to support them, especially in movement. So let's look at what we were doing with Romeo here to see how we're bringing him back into work and helping him not only be physically strong, but with the mental confidence as well. You can see the first video that we're going to look at the eye and how nervous he is initially. That very triangular eye and kind of looking away from me. And let's see what we do and how that changes a bit.
All right, Romeo just got cleared to work. He had another round of Lyme treatment, and when he had body work, the body worker found a little discomfort in his right front in the suspensory branch. So we gave him about, it's probably been like 90 days off, just to make sure that we didn't exacerbate anything that could be there. And we're going to get restarted with his training. The Lyme really whacked him out. And so he's been a little bit protective of himself. And so we're going to really see what we can do to open his body back up and get him balanced. If you look at his stance, and we're not on even ground, so, that's going to exacerbate anything going on, but it's not normal to stand like this. We would like to see them in a nice little rectangle and balanced on either side of their body. So that's what we're going to work toward today.
All right, let's look at the next one and what we do.
All right, because we know he's got that suspensory tenderness on the right side, or he did. It's been a while. We are on much, much bigger, less bendy circles to try to get that right side of his body a little opened up. Already our posture is getting better. Our responsiveness is getting better. Hi, buddy. We're kind of getting back to our sweet self. Right? When we stopped, we were much wider in the shoulders. You can see this is square but narrow. So we're trying to open the shoulders up, allow that neck to come down and everything to elongate. But I like how he's working through things. He's a little resistant. He hasn't worked in a while. He hasn't worked with me in a long time. And so what I'm asking him to do, we're going to have to start from the ground up. We're just going to basically restart him.
All right, so I'm going to go back to a part. Let's see where I can see his body okay. All right, well, we're going to put it right here. It's hard to see what I want to show you, but we're going to talk about the why for doing this groundwork. So remember, last week we talked about anatomy, and we talked about how we've got the nuchal ligament that runs down to the wither and then connects with another ligament and runs through the back, all the way to the back of the horse, right? And so when our horse's neck comes out, okay, I'm the only one drawing right now. Thank you very much. When the horse's neck comes out, that stretches these ligaments and helps lift the back up for the horse to be stronger for us to carry. So on the ground, when we do these circular exercises that you guys have all worked on with me, where we're getting the outside of their body open, we're helping open up the shoulders. As the shoulders open more, his head and neck are going to come more out and open and a little bit down, which will raise up his back. So now from the ground, not only are we teaching him to relax, but we're teaching him how to build up his muscles and how to go correctly in order to carry himself well and carry us well. So it's really, really important that we teach our horses this from the ground first before we add all of that weight of carrying us. And especially if we're going to be imbalanced sometimes in the saddle, they can't work through their balance if we're imbalanced. So it's very, very important for us to do this from the ground first. Yes, Miss CJ.
We only have a couple minutes until this thing ends. And
Thank
at the
you.
end, I'm gonna draw.
Okay, thank you very much. So now, okay, hold on. I gotta be in charge until the end, and then you guys, if we have time, we can do some drawing and some talking. Okay, so now
Shoot.
we're gonna mute, and we're not gonna play around with the drawing. Thank you, thank you. So now this is the last video. We're gonna put it all together. So we're gonna put together the halter or the bridle handling or the cavesson handling in this case. We're gonna put together the balance stuff, and we're gonna see how we work a horse from the ground to get them strong mentally and physically to do their job. It is our responsibility to help them through this. So this is Diana, who not many of you have worked with. Now, Diana is coming back into work. You can see, we all know, she had gone somewhere else. She had gotten skinny. She came back. I had to get weight on her. I had to get her going better again. You can see how little muscle she has here. So I'm only doing groundwork with her. What I'm doing in this video is teaching her, instead of leaning on the front legs, how to shift her weight onto her back legs here. So now remember, when a horse is naturally grazing, standing, they're going to have more weight on their front legs. The front legs are much shorter than the back legs, and they carry their heavy head and neck in front of this bridge that we've talked about. Here's a support, here's a support, here's the suspension, but then they also have this head and neck in front of it. So they have more weight on the front end. So we have to teach them, in order for them to be healthy, physically healthy, how to shift their weight back and carry more on their hind legs. So that's what I am doing here. Okay, so I'm going to pause it really quickly to point out a few of those foundational skills that we worked on earlier that are all coming together in this. Okay, so the treat. I do have a treat in my hand. I'm not allowing her to mug me for the treat, to push me around for the treat, which she's not doing. She's good about. I am keeping the treat from her until she does the correct thing, and then giving it to her in that neutral zone so she doesn't push into me for the treat. I'm using pressure from that carrot stick to ask her to shift back. I'm not smacking her, but I am tapping her and saying, hey, shift your body. And then from there, I'm asking with the cavesson for her to follow the cavesson. So shift back, stay back, follow the cavesson, open the head and neck forward. That's going to help those ligaments that we just talked about stretch, raise the back, build up the correct muscles. So watch that as I do the rest. Now here I'm working on flexions. So that's a following and allowing for her to stretch the outside of her body to follow my hand. And that's what we need in the saddle too. So it's really important for us to do all of these skills from the ground, for them to be clear in what we want from them, for us to help build up their muscle and for them to feel confident in themselves so that they can do the job that we are asking them to do when they might be a little bit confused by what we might do in the saddle. Always coming back to that foundational ground training to help solidify those skills and that softness, but muscle building exercise. So, you guys, for the last 30 seconds, can tell me what you want to say.
Can we draw?
You may draw and talk to each other for a minute until it cuts us off.
We draw. Can I
Text the thingy. CJ knows. CJ knows.
draw? So bad, see?